now that we're back to life as it kind of was before the pandemic, or at least a close simulation of that, the festival is as big as it ever was. It is in person. It is this incredible institution and marker in Detroit. The hair stands up on the back of my neck when I think about Jazz Fest every year.
Oh, thanks, Stephen. 44th year this year. What an amazing tradition of the city, and a tradition that's so connected. The art is so connected to our citizenry and reflects in the visual arts and the narrative arts and everything else. It really speaks to us all, and it's a joyous time. It's a time to celebrate and to come together and meet new people and hear some music from some of the most significant creative artists in the field right now. So I'm equally thrilled, and thank you for your ongoing support and enthusiasm.
I just want to have you talk just a little about the rest of this year and the festival. What's going on, the people that we have coming, the people who we are featuring who are already part of Detroit and the Detroit music scene. But let's start with Kareem Riggins, this year's artist in resident.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Kareem Riggins, we've talked for a number of years about this, and of course he's been involved along the way in a number of our year-round educational and outreach programs throughout the years, and no doubt this year he was as well. And like so many things, you'll see the culmination of his work at the Detroit Jazz Festival, like so many other year-round Detroit Jazz Fest Foundation projects. So, he brings something new, as you'll see through the entire festival lineup. We're always looking for artists that are bringing something new to the genre and the art, and the dimensions of evolution that the art is going through. And Kareem brings something special. This highly respected drummer in the jazz world by all accounts, and then he has this whole other life in the hip hop and electronic music scene. He has a new label that's under his name coming out, and it represents someone who can truly bring together artistically these two worlds in a way no one's been quite able to do before. And he'll be doing that over 3 different performances throughout the festival. It's going to hold the trajectory, and I'm sure cause a lot of talk.
Yeah. Brittini Ward, I want to bring you into the conversation now, and that's because we want to talk about this year's Jazz Fest poster, and you are the poster artist for that. It really is a stunning work of art, but it also, each year I say this as well, it really does capture the sense of who we are as Detroiters and the fact that this is the Detroit Jazz Festival. But Brittini, talk about how you came up with the imagery and the idea that you have in this year's poster.
Yeah, thank you for that, and so grateful to be here. I created the poster to give reverence to my granddad and my father, who were the introducers of jazz in my own life. I remember, just traveling in the back seat, then the front seat with my dad, listening to all types of jazz, him making up stories to Pat Metheny's like music, like this little boy traveling, like telling stories to jazz. My granddad and his da 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 da, like going downtown. Going down south for family reunions. So anyway, all of that was in my brain plus more. As I'm creating this poster, because, my dad, he recently transitioned, and so did my granddad. And I wanted to give reverence to them, just to find another way to channel my own grief into a work of art.
Yeah. So there are 2 figures in the poster this year. That also makes me feel right at home. I'm like, they look like Detroiters. Who are you drawing on for those figures? Is that also a reflection of the people who introduced you to jazz, your family?
Yeah, so I would say on the left, that represents me, woman. And then right, there's a male that represents both my dad and my granddad. My granddad always wore those hats, like, the hats. It's not like dad's barbecuing hat. I don't know. You see, there's no one else in the same like physical structure on there, because that was just like this bringing together of me and my father, me and my granddad, this intimacy between both of us articulated through the poster.
Yeah. It's really interesting to hear you talk about the poster and the inspiration for it. Same story for me. My dad listened to jazz all day, every day, on the radio and on the record player, and there was no other music in his house, and so that's how I came to be the fan that I am of jazz as well. WJZZ, of course, played a huge role in all that. That's maybe a little older than what you would remember, Brittini, but
I heard about it on a tour.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, Chris, again, a big hit, another year with the poster. Talk about how important that poster is to the legacy festival.
I was immediately touched. We had an open call for artists, as we've done in the past, and I was immediately touched by the emotion and sentimentality that was represented, and these two figures that are alone, but at a major jazz festival, hundreds of thousands of people, and yet their sphere of existence is quite intimate between the two of them, and it speaks to something artists and patrons go through in jazz, which is this passing on of the language and the stories and the history of this music. And Brittini captured that so beautifully in such a personal way, and yet in a way, as you said, that touches all of us. It was my father and his old record collection and talking about, Art Blakey and Coleman Hawkins that got me hooked. And before I knew it, I was begging to buy a saxophone and try to copy those records, And you'll get a sense of that throughout the festival as a patron and the artists on the stage. We talked about Kareem, but the mix of artists this year: Samara Joy, NEA Jazz Masters series. 3 of the 4 NEA Jazz Masters this year are from Detroit. Kenny Garrett and Louis Hayes, and they'll all be with us at the festival with the John Schofield, Dee Dee Bridgewater, Jason Moran, Daniela Perez. It goes on and on. We have some wonderful women leaders, Miho Hazama, Melissa Aldana, Alexa Tarantino, Linda Mao. These are up and coming, important musicians in the jazz world. And then we have all our Detroiters, that it lives in the world that Brittini lives in, where it's about a family experience, a community experience. Our trip to Gretchen Valade on opening night, one of the most important figures, a great angel of jazz here, that'll feature a bunch of Detroiters and national artists all together to pay tribute to her. And then also we have the Detroit Piano Legacy tribute, with the passing of Barry 2 years ago. It was quite emotional for all of us, but we wanted to prepare, do something special. So throughout the festival, you'll see performances by current Detroit pianists celebrating the continuation of that legacy, along with artists that knew and others in a very particular way. So a lot of Detroit presence, right up to our artist in residence, who's a Detroit native, and of course, Brittini, who has captured so beautifully the message of jazz, the message of Detroit, and the message of the Detroit Jazz Festival.
Watch One Detroit, Thursday at 7:30 p.m.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.